Welcome to Chain Reactions podcast. This is number 5, and this is where we talk about tech, talent, transformation, and ultimately collide across logistics and the supply chain. So we are your hosts. So I'm Daniella Goodwin.
And I'm Dave Stubberfield.
And I'm founder of Synergize Consultancy, and Dave runs Carter Consultancy. But together we host Chain Reactions podcasts and also running events, which actually our London showcase is September the 18th. So in the run up to the event, we are bringing you a number of different podcasts, different conversations with industry leaders over the next 2 months. Sort of shaping what's next. So this episode, we are basically digging in, aren't we, Dave, into why sustainability, what is sustainability, and really sort of understanding what that looks like.
Yeah, and this is a real learning curve for me because stepping into an area that I don't know so well, I think you're going to be teaching me quite a lot today, Danielle. So I'm really looking forward to this.
Yes, definitely. It's a really big topic. I think some people are like, oh God, sustainability and decarbonisation, and it kind of gets thrown in our faces. But actually, I think a lot of people just don't understand what it is. There's so many different things that you can do that will make a change. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think from my point of view, I think a lot of what I've seen in the past is people treat it as a box ticking exercise and it's just something that needs to be done.
Yeah.
But from the work I've done with some partners and clients, you get this feeling that the switch is moving to something more strategic and long term,
Mm-hmm.
and the sustainability has to be sustainable, kind of thing. So it's a real driver right now, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. And I think to your point, I think, you've got your everyday, people who are sort of, doing their recycling, doing the plastics, that kind of thing. But from a business perspective, you've got companies that are trying to father the sustainability angle out. But then from a startup perspective, which is a lot of the stuff that we get involved with, the startups and scale ups, investors are demanding really clear, carbon metrics. Customers are choosing partners based on like environmental credentials as well, and all the regulations are massively tightening across UK and Europe. So it's really something to think about, and you have to start acting now to be able to get
Mm.
to that sort of net zero. There's net zero 30, there's net zero 50. So there's a lot of things to think about, and it can be a bit of a whoa mind blowing exercise, really.
Yeah, and I guess that means quite a lot for logistics, right? There's end to end, there's a massive field to look at. And I guess my simple brain takes me to the fleet that logistics companies have. Where do we start with that, Daniela?
Yeah. So you're right. Logistics is massive. Obviously, the end to end supply chain, but with the fleets, the trucks, you've got fleet decarbonisation, and I suppose that's the biggest thing right now is EV and the newest one, hydrogen. And I'm actually getting involved in quite a lot of startups and the big giants um, that are getting involved in this and have to. So whether it's electric vehicles, hydrogen retrofits, so taking a truck, for instance, that's diesel, totally taking all the inside of it out and putting it into hydrogen, all the telematics and everything like that, which is a lot cheaper to do than buying a 300 grand truck. And then you've got alternative fuels like HVO as well. So, like I said, the big corporates like your DHLs, your Maersks, they're already piloting these technologies. But startups like, for instance, a company Equitas that myself and Barry are working with, they're making a retrofit a viable option for existing diesel trucks. So it's huge. This is a really, really big one.
You mentioned there the cost of a brand new truck at like 300 grand. Obviously, that's not sustainable in itself. So, are these retrofits a better way of doing it for companies of large and small companies?
Yeah. So, for instance, if you've just bought a massive fleet of diesel trucks, then no. But, if they're sort of 3 years, 5 years into their journey, if you like. Most trucks I think are like 7 to 10 years, and then you kind of flip them. So if you're in that sweet spot where you've got like the 3 years you've had them, and now you need to make that switch, actually, yeah, it's a really good option. You're basically saving about 110, 120 grand per truck.
Wow. Wow.
So, and if you think the likes of your DHLs, I think they have over 7,000 trucks just in the UK. That's mad. So,
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a
yeah,
lot. So, having just had twin girls, I've just recently bought an electric vehicle myself. We've
yeah,
got a 9-seater minibus, which is lovely. Now, I'm learning all about where to charge the vehicle up because it's something you've got to consider.
hmm
Is this something else that organisations have to contemplate for their logistics organisations of where logistically they can charge up if they're using electric vehicles?
yeah. I mean, obviously there are a lot of the big petrol stations, and the ones obviously on the motorway, they do actually work for the big trucks. So there are designated EV charging stations for them. I think other than that, um, it's more around like the depots and stuff. So you've got to think of that when you've got your depots and your warehouses and everything like that. You're going to need to have a multitude of the charging stations. And funny enough, there's actually another startup that I work with who are creating rapid chargers. So we have like the really fast ones for, your Porsches and stuff like that. But from a truck perspective, time is of the essence. If you've got chilled goods or whatever it might be, you've got a deadline. So having rapid EV chargers is a definite way forwards as well. So there's a startup company that I'm working with, and they're transforming that as it stands. So I'm hoping that's going to go boom, because the chargers today aren't, they're not super super quick. So you
Mm,
can definitely find
yeah.
them, but again, I think you've got to really think about the integration of what you're going to be doing.
Yeah. I think for me as well, buying my electric vehicle, it was what does the infrastructure look like? How easy is it going to be to charge? How
Yeah,
long is it going to take to charge? All of
yeah,
these things come into consideration just from a family point of view. But then you step into the world of business and
logistics.
it's, yeah, like you say, chilled goods. And how do you get from A to B and in a timely manner as well? All of these things come into consideration.
Yeah,
And I guess another question that comes into my mind as well is we're talking about decarbonisation of the fleet here. Are there other things that we can do for drivers and the routes they take to make even more savings and take it one step further?
yeah. They're 100%. I mean, you've got AI driven like route optimization. So there are a number of tech companies out there, big and small startups, that it's basically all around intelligent platforms. So it's reducing unnecessarily mileage, like you've just said. What does your fuel use look like? Cutting emissions and your operating costs. So it's not just about saving the planet, it's about boosting margins as well. And you can do this with AI and tech. And we all know I love a bit of tech. But the AI driven route optimization is a really key thing for logistics today.
Yeah, that's really interesting because in my world, reducing operating costs is kind of a massive part of what I do in kind of the process
Yeah,
improvement and making things more efficient. And it's not stopping there and just like you say, ticking that box to say, oh, we've decarbonised the fleet, that's brilliant, we've offset that, whatever it might be. We're looking at how effective we actually use these vehicles as well. And if you're utilising AI to help with that,
yeah,
that's amazing. You're really looking at not kind of how the crow flies. It's what route is the best route. Can you
yeah,
get potentially a heavy goods vehicle down these roads? Is it more effective, efficient to go a longer way around? All of these different things that come into play that would probably take up time and effort and resource from a human in an office, but we've got AI doing all of that stuff for us now. It boggles my mind. It really does.
yeah.
It,
It
what
is
are the
amazing.
limitations do you see?
Um, I just think education from the C level within these businesses, because I think they know that they have to do something, but they don't know how to do it. No one's telling them you've got to do this, you've got to do that. Your big DHLs and your Sievers, they are leading from the front. One, because they've got the money. Two, they have really, really strong sustainability sort of ESG goals that they have to hit, like everybody else, but like they are really leading from the front. So I think the biggest lack is just knowledge, and knowledge is power, right? So if you don't know, and that's exactly why I'm doing stuff like this, because I'm talking to logistics companies day in, day out. I have the tech side, I'm speaking to AI companies, telematic companies, the retrofit guys. So it's so powerful, but if you don't know, you don't know, right? So
Yeah, it's interesting. I think the guys that are leading from the front, that's great. But there almost needs to be that sharing of best practice that comes down
yeah,
to say, we've tried this and this has worked for us. And
and
that's
also,
great.
yeah. So I was just gonna say, like, it's not just from a. I think other companies have, like your big five, they have sort of the world's their oyster, because other countries will do it first. So, for instance, a lot of Asia will do something first for DHL. They've already got hydrogen trucks out there today. So we're trying to replicate that in the UK and Europe. So again, it's sort of copying that. But your smaller, small, medium-sized companies, they don't have kind of that luxury. They're just sort of looking to see what everyone else is doing ultimately. And do I have
That's
to do
really
it?
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting because I think that geographical aspect, it's does it work in the UK and Europe versus Asia, America, South
Yeah.
America? These
Again,
different areas,
yeah.
they're going to be different needs and different
Infrastructure.
requirements.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And it
It's
really
just
is as well. It is mind-boggling. So when as a business owner in logistics, you're like, oh my God, yeah, like where do I go with this? What do I do?
mm,
And sometimes you
yeah,
copycat, and sometimes no, just lead from the front, or hire somebody like myself who, goes, right, okay, I can give you these three options, and the positives and the negatives, what do you want to choose? Let's go on a roadmap together. That's the sort of thing that, people should be looking to us for, to give them those
mm,
options.
yeah. That's a really great point, and I think that the key bit there is you can copy what some of the big players have done, and you can look at that. But I think it's coming in people like me, people like you with fresh eyes to say, okay, that might be what's market leading, but is that the best way for us? In my world of customer experience, you don't want to try and be the likes of Apple and Disney, the ones that are the market leaders in that space. You want to take what they're doing well and apply it to your own business. You've got your own values, you've got your own brand that you stand for. So don't
100%.
try to be them. You want to do things right for you. It's not off the shelf, and you have to do it that way. It's
Yeah.
what works best for you. So that's really interesting. Really interesting.
Yeah.
Um, we touched on kind of the the depots and the facilities there having EV chargers and everything they might need.
Yeah.
How far does that go? Warehousing and that kind of transformation as well, Daniela.
So obviously you've got solar panels. I mean, we've had this for years. There's been projects, it went for a boom, didn't it, with all the offices and stuff like that. But it was like, well, hold on, what about the warehouse inside? So, you've got solar installations, all the smart energy systems, and data. Like, it comes back to tech and data. So data-led energy audits, they're helping the large 3PLs, all the retailers, slash their scope 1 and their scope 2 emissions. So they're really, really, putting them on that fast track to hit their ESG goals. So there's there's loads of things that can be done, and that's probably is good. I think that's quite well marketed within the warehousing side. But again, if you're a freight forwarder and you've expanded into the retail side, or you're a retailer and got a warehouse, you need to understand what you can do, or buy one with a load of solar panels in, you'll be all right. But yeah, so you've got the ESG reporting as well, just while I'm thinking of it, because that's moved from, I think I said it right at the start, that's moved from like voluntary frameworks to legal compliance. So in most regions around the UK. So if you don't know your carbon data, you basically risk losing tenders, so your work,
Okay.
the funding. So I get involved in a lot of funding around decarbonisation. And if you're not doing your ESG, if you're not compliant, it literally won't exist. Like your contract's just, yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So it's really, really starting to hit home. And I think that's where people are sort of pressing the worry button.
One thing you just said that I want to go back to
Mm-hmm.
is the warehousing and the buying one with solar panels. We've spoken previously about the amount of warehouses that are being built. Are modern day warehouses being built with all of these mod cons in, with kind of ESG and sustainability in mind?
I think they, again, because of the legislation, I think they're having to do that. But some will just build. So there's loads going up in Milton Keynes and Northampton at the moment. And they're just building huge, huge, huge warehouses with solar installations. But I think from a maybe an internal point of view, that's up to the person who has the warehouse, is how I would see it, with like if they need air conditioning or whatever systems they need in there. So, but from a solar panel point of view, yeah, more and more and more I'm seeing. Or, on the sides, a lot of them are in, edges of fields, aren't they? And you kind of have like that whole panel of solar panel sort of fields between the two warehouses.
Yeah.
That kind of thing is where they're locking onto. So yeah, I think with the legislations, it's definitely at the forefront of everyone's minds right now.
Okay. So it's essentially a shell that goes up with kind of the solars included, but internally it's down to whoever occupies that warehouse and what they want to do with it
Yeah,
at that
I think
point.
it differs depending on who's buying that warehouse or rent,
Yeah.
leasing, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, ultimately it should be.
Brilliant. It's
Yeah.
interesting because I've spoken very briefly with people about smart cities and
Hmm.
that kind of digital transformation that's going to come. I've again buying the electric vehicle. I've seen lampposts that have got EV chargers coming out at the bottom. It's just
Yeah.
again, it's utilizing the space and the technology and the equipment that we have to be able to do things. Um, we've mentioned education. You've been teaching me today. What do you think is going to be the biggest thing that people need to be aware of moving forward? Let's say fast forward a year's time, what's going to be the topic that people talk about?
I think sustainability it is a long-term thing. It's next, God knows how many years. But I think the next biggest thing, is that what you said, sorry?
Yeah, yeah,
I think it will always be tech and sustainability and what new tech for sustainability and decarbonisation, like with the carbon credits. This is quite a if you're not in the game, you don't know what it is, but carbon credits, you can offset all your carbon credits. So if you are doing a good job with sustainability, you rack up these carbon credits, and not many people know that, and you can actually earn money from that as well.
okay,
So that could be probably a topic for very, very soon in the future. I think we are starting to talk about it if you're in kind of that world. But again, I think it's a big educational piece. I only sort of started really focusing on that a couple of months ago. So yeah, I think just being sustainable. I think cybersecurity will always be there because the more tech, everything like that, cybersecurity is absolutely poignant right now.
mm,
Um, so I actually think, regardless of the sustainability thing, I think cybersecurity will be up there.
yeah, really interesting. I think again, from what you've taught me today, is you've got to be leading or with the leaders in the pack and
Mhm.
keeping up because you won't survive otherwise, will you?
No,
It's moving at such a fast pace that if you get left behind and you're lagging behind, you're going to fall short. By the sounds
yeah,
of it, you're not going to survive, are you?
no, and it's people like the big retailers, like your M&S, Tesco's, Unilevers, those types. They're all demanding emission data from their supply chain partners. So any supply chain partner, they are saying, right, what does it look like? And I think if you can't provide that, then you're basically going to be off the shortlist. So you could, as a supply chain partner, lose business if you're not on that trajectory with sustainability right now.
That's really interesting. I think that's just showing the power of this and how much opportunity there is.
Yeah.
We've spoken about the small margins that the logistics companies work on anyway. So if you can make things more efficient, make operations cheaper, decarbonising fleet, all of these different things that add up to becoming more sustainable, but make your margins bigger.
Yeah.
You're onto a
And that's
winner, aren't
it.
you?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Wow.
That's what
Right.
makes this sort of moment exciting. There's a real opportunity here for, operators, for investors, for innovators who want to make that change within. If you've got a tech mind, a sustainability mind, whatever it might be, put them together. The logistics sector has such a massive role to play in the net zero transition. Those who move early, like now, are going to go and see the upside. It's the ones that are going to scupper if they're just going to be left behind, like you said. So change now.
Amazing.
Definitely start changing.
Absolutely. Leading question now, Daniela. Are we going to hear more of this at the London Showcase for Chain Reactions event?
Yes, we absolutely are. There is going to be a big sustainability piece on there. We're going to have investors who are just investing in AI and sustainability companies, which is really exciting. They're going to do some talks, and we're going to have a sort of ESG reporting and what the big guns are doing as well. So you can kind of hear from that. So you've got the startup, the investor, and the big sort of 3PLs all talking about their ESG goals and challenges and positives. So yeah, it's not all about sustainability. Obviously there's tech, big hot topics, but this is definitely a key one. So yeah, we will be definitely hearing that. So make sure you get your ticket.
Brilliant. So nice little plug there for Chain Reactions London Showcase. As Daniela says, tickets are on sale right now. If you're looking for any more information on that, please give myself or Daniela a shout. We'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Yeah.
But other than that, all that's left is to say thank you for listening once again. Please like, subscribe, share, and we'll catch you on episode 6.